They say kindness is a gift, but why do the kindest people often feel alone? You give, you care, you put others first, yet somehow, the world forgets you. Not because they don't appreciate you, but because they take you for granted. Anthony Hopkins once said, "If you're always giving, but no one gives back, it's time to walk away." Kindness isn't weakness, but even good people need protection. So why do kind people end up alone? Stay with me, because you're about to see kindness in a whole new way. There are those who live quietly, always helping without expecting recognition. They listen with sincerity, give without hesitation, and bring goodness to those around them, yet, they are often overlooked. Kindness is praised, but it is sometimes mistaken for weakness. Despite their patience and compassion, kind people often find themselves alone. Why is that? Is it the nature of kindness itself, or is it because the world misunderstands it? Today, we will explore why good people often experience loneliness and what helps them stay true to their nature in a world that does not always recognize their kindness. Kindness is not just a virtue, it is a responsibility carried by those who choose to embrace it. It is not easy, for it demands more than we sometimes realize: patience, understanding, and an open heart. Those who are truly kind bear this weight in silence, never seeking acknowledgement, never asking for anything in return, simply because they believe the world needs more kindness. Their goodness is not an act, nor a calculated gesture. It is instinctual, woven into the fabric of their thoughts and actions. Yet, no matter how noble, this instinct comes with an invisible burden. To be truly kind is to open oneself, to feel the pain, the struggles, the silent pleas of others. They understand without being told, they carry burdens without being asked. They are the steady shoulder, the listening ear, the helping hand. And though they give willingly, it does not mean they do not grow weary. Every act of kindness drains a part of their energy, not all at once, but gradually, like gentle drops of water leaving a still lake. But kindness is not always reciprocated. People receive help, bask in understanding, yet rarely stop to give it back. It becomes expected, like the sky above, always there, yet seldom acknowledged with gratitude. But even kindness has its limits. It is a well that must be replenished, or it will run dry. When kind people continue to give without receiving appreciation, that well begins to empty, until only the last few drops remain. Yet, they do not speak of it. They continue giving, still offering support, until there is nothing left. They do not wish to be seen as selfish or ungrateful. For so long, they have been told that expecting something in return diminishes the purity of kindness. And so, they persist, even as they fade into the background. They do not seek grand gestures of gratitude, nor do they demand equal repayment. What they long for is something simple, a sincere thank you, a warm acknowledgement, a small reminder that says, "I see you." What makes kindness feel heavy is not just the loss of energy, but the values they refuse to abandon, their integrity, their sincerity, their unwavering belief in the goodness of people. They could choose indifference, selfishness, or apathy to protect themselves from disappointment. But they do not. Because kindness is not a transaction, it is an inseparable part of who they are. They continue to live this way because they believe kindness can heal wounds, bridge hearts, and, if only in the smallest way, make the world a better place. Ironically, kindness has the power to connect people, yet it is often the very thing that makes kind-hearted individuals feel the most alone. They can stand amidst those they have helped, surrounded by smiles and friendly words, yet still feel out of place. It's not that others don't care about them, it's just that very few recognize the true value of the kindness they have received. To them, kindness is like the sun, ever present, always there, requiring no second thought. But beneath its quiet simplicity lies an extraordinary strength, one that does not come from grand gestures but from resilience. To carry kindness is to walk a path that is anything but easy, to continue doing good even when no one notices, even when no one reciprocates. And though that journey is often filled with challenges, it is also what makes them remarkable. Their kindness is not a mere coincidence, it is a testament to their persistence, courage, and unwavering belief that this world, despite its harshness, is still worth believing in, still worth loving. Genuine people do not shy away from conflict because they are weak but because they understand that whether one wins or loses, wounds will be left behind. They know that words can cut like knives, that actions can leave scars too deep to erase. To them, peace is not just the absence of chaos, it is something sacred, something worth protecting, even if it means bearing the pain themselves. They do not fear confrontation, yet they choose not to engage in it. Not because they lack the strength to fight, but because they know the cost of conflict is far greater than most realize. Pain is never confined to those involved, it ripples outward, affecting everyone around them. And if they can prevent that suffering, they are willing to stay silent, to endure, to sacrifice, because they believe that patience, at times, is stronger than rage. But the price of avoiding conflict is heavy. In their efforts to maintain harmony, kind-hearted individuals often suppress their own needs, bury their true emotions. They smile even when their hearts are breaking, nod in agreement even when their souls scream in protest, and endure in silence what others would easily stand up against. Over time, they begin to lose their sense of boundaries. They struggle to say no when they know they should, hesitate to express their true feelings without guilt, and fear speaking up for themselves in case it might upset someone else. Though this exhaustion weighs on them, there is still a quiet beauty in their restraint. These individuals possess a rare ability to understand others more deeply than most. They see the hurt behind thoughtless actions, the wounds beneath anger. When someone lashes out, they do not just see the rage, they feel the unspoken pain behind it. But because they understand too much, they also carry more than they should. They know that a careless word can fracture a relationship, that a single mistake can create an unbridgeable distance. And because they see these consequences so clearly, they choose to endure in silence, willingly taking on the burden to spare others from pain. What many fail to realize is that inside them brews a silent storm. They carry unspoken emotions, forgotten needs, and the weight of being misunderstood. Their silence is not indifference, it is a conscious choice. They put others first, willing to bear the cost to keep the peace. But it is this very choice that isolates them, trapping them between their desire to protect harmony and the invisible wounds no one else can see. Their avoidance of conflict is not born out of weakness or fear but from a deep respect for greater values, faith in kindness, hope for understanding, and the desire to protect relationships. That is a strength, even if it is often misunderstood. They do not refrain from arguments because they lack the ability to fight, but because they believe that some battles are not worth the cost, that preserving a connection is more important than proving who is right and who is wrong. The world has much to learn from kind-hearted people. They do not steer clear of conflict because they are afraid but because they believe in love, patience, and understanding. Yet, even they must find balance, learning how to protect themselves while continuing to give. When they achieve this, their kindness is no longer a silent sacrifice but a truly extraordinary strength. They walk a fragile line, remaining genuine in a world where sincerity is often misinterpreted. To be authentic means to remain open, to give without the shields that others build around themselves. It is a conscious choice, an acceptance that the world may not always treat kindness fairly, yet they choose to live by it anyway. But it is this very authenticity, the courage to be themselves, that makes them both powerful and easily misunderstood. For them, living truthfully is not a simple act but an act of bravery. They do not hide behind facades, do not manipulate to gain approval. They face the world with sincerity, openly sharing their thoughts and emotions without pretense. And yet, their honesty can sometimes be mistaken for naivety. Their genuine words may be perceived as lacking tact, as if their refusal to play deceptive games makes them less wise. But in reality, to uphold truthfulness in a world full of falsehoods requires profound understanding and immense perseverance. This misunderstanding stems from the flawed belief that kindness, when paired with honesty, signals weakness. But in truth, it is strength, a strength few truly comprehend, and even fewer have the courage to uphold. It is easy to look at a kind and sincere person and assume they can be molded, that they are easily influenced or controlled. But what many fail to realize is that genuine people do not act out of a need for approval or because they lack self-assertion. Their kindness is a deliberate choice, a reflection of deeply held values, not a sign of weak will. They are kind because they want to be, not because they have to be. Yet, it is this very choice that often makes them feel alone. They live in a world that values appearances, where their sincerity sometimes clashes with the artificiality around them. They do not believe in transactional relationships, where everything is measured in terms of giving and receiving. To them, life is not about what they can take, but about what they can give. But such selflessness, though beautiful, also leaves them vulnerable to exploitation. Those who operate from self-interest may see their sincerity as an opportunity to manipulate. When a genuine person speaks, they risk being ignored or dismissed, as if their voice carries less weight simply because it is not masked by ulterior motives. Their words come from the heart, unsharpened by the skepticism that society often equates with intelligence or strength. They do not use elaborate language to disguise the truth, nor do they embellish their words simply to please others. Yet, it is precisely this simplicity and sincerity that can be mistaken for a lack of depth. And so, in a world where those who speak the loudest are often heard more than those who speak with meaning, they are easily overlooked. The honesty of sincere people can sometimes make others uncomfortable, like a mirror reflecting what lies beneath the surface. When faced with someone who is consistently genuine, those accustomed to pretense may feel uneasy, even defensive. They are not used to unconditional kindness, and instead of bringing people closer, this unfamiliarity can create distance. Sincere individuals understand this, yet they choose to remain true to themselves. They know that their authenticity will not always be appreciated, but they cannot change who they are just to fit in. To them, compromising their kindness would be betraying themselves. If they were to abandon their sincerity, they would no longer be who they truly are. So, even when misunderstood, even in moments of loneliness, they continue forward with quiet determination. They carry within them a silent strength, the strength of those who hold firm to their values, no matter what challenges the world presents. Sincere people are naturally drawn to genuine connections rather than the shallow relationships that have become so common in the fast-paced modern world. They do not seek the spotlight or the presence of large crowds. Instead, they cherish intimacy and depth in their relationships. This selective approach sometimes sets them apart. While many rush to fill their lives with as many connections as possible, treating relationships as tools to achieve their goals, sincere individuals take a more intentional path. They value quality over quantity. It is not that they struggle to make friends or blend in, but rather, their warmth and empathy make them a refuge for those in search of comfort and understanding. The truth is, not everyone understands the value of emotional connection, nor is everyone willing to reciprocate it. A meaningful relationship requires more than casual words. It demands trust, sincerity, and the courage to reveal one's hidden vulnerabilities. Sincere people long for such connections, but not everyone is capable of meeting them at that depth. Over time, their circle of trust grows smaller, holding only those who truly understand and appreciate them. This selectiveness in relationships is not arrogance, it is a form of self-preservation. Not everyone deserves their sincerity and emotional investment. But this choice also comes with a cost. By placing true connection above superficial interactions, they embark on a journey where, at times, they may feel like the only one searching. In a world that values quantity over quality, they often feel out of place. They can stand in a crowded room, surrounded by countless conversations, yet still feel alone, because those words skim the surface, lacking the sincerity they so deeply long for. Choosing carefully who enters their life is a form of protection, but also a challenge. It shields them from meaningless connections, yet at the same time, it makes it harder for them to find those who truly appreciate them. And yet, for kind-hearted people, this is not a sacrifice, it is a choice worth making. They are willing to walk alone, willing to wait for genuine connections rather than compromise their authenticity just to fill the void. And in this quiet persistence, they reveal an astonishing strength, the courage to take the harder path in pursuit of a truly meaningful life. Sincere people live with an open heart, a trait that makes them deep, compassionate, and profoundly connected to the emotions of others. But this openness is a double-edged sword. Their ability to empathize allows them to see pain that others overlook, yet it also exposes them to invisible wounds of their own. Emotional sensitivity is both their greatest strength and their hardest challenge. Instead of building walls, they build bridges, connecting, listening, and offering a safe space where emotions can be expressed without fear of judgment. But in their tireless effort to care for the emotional needs of others, they often forget that they, too, need to be heard, to be understood. They give so much that they fail to notice when their own emotional reserves begin to run dry. The greatest paradox of sincere people is that even when surrounded by many, they can still feel alone. Their kindness is not always reciprocated, and sadly, the world does not always treat kind souls fairly. They trust too much, forgive too easily, and offer second chances even when others take them for granted. Their generosity, though noble, can leave behind wounds that only they can feel. But the most important truth is this: those wounds do not weaken them, they make them strong in their own unique way. They allow them to connect with others on a level that few can reach. They have the courage to love deeply, to care genuinely, to experience the world in its fullest depth, and that is what makes them unforgettable. Even when they do not receive the recognition they deserve, they are the ones people remember long after the moment has passed. Yet, their openness does not mean they do not feel pain. On the contrary, they feel it more deeply than anyone. Loss, disappointment, rejection, each leaves an imprint on their heart. But they do not let pain break them. Instead, they keep opening their hearts, keep believing in goodness, because they know that the world needs people like them. Why do they continue to believe in kindness? Because no matter how many times the world disappoints them, they cannot turn their backs on their own nature. It is this unwavering belief that makes them stronger after every wound. They may hurt, they may stumble, but they never give up. Every scar is not just a mark of pain, it is a profound lesson about humanity. They learn to set boundaries, not to close themselves off, but to protect the most authentic part of who they are. To them, vulnerability is not weakness, it is the courage to live fully, to love deeply, and to accept both the light and the darkness of life. It is a quiet yet unshakable strength. Their openness may make them more susceptible to pain, but it is also the greatest gift they can offer the world. It is what makes them different. And though there are moments of loneliness, their sincerity leaves an unforgettable imprint on the hearts of those lucky enough to know them. Sincere people do not see solitude as failure, they embrace it as a challenge to understand themselves better and build resilience. In silence, they reconnect with who they are, free from the expectations of others. They face their thoughts, fears, and desires without seeking validation from the outside world. Through solitude, they gain clarity about their choices, sacrifices, and the boundaries they must uphold. They come to realize that kindness does not mean neglecting oneself, it requires a balance between giving and self-preservation. This time of reflection allows them to recharge, to appreciate their own company, and to discover a strength that does not depend on anyone else's approval. Society often mistakes solitude for isolation, but for kind-hearted individuals, it is a chance to break free from the pressure of pleasing others. They become the true masters of their thoughts and emotions, finding peace within themselves rather than in the acceptance of the world. This process is not easy, but it makes them stronger, gentle yet resilient, quiet yet unwavering. In the end, solitude is no longer something to escape but the foundation upon which they build a life of authenticity and meaning. It is in those solitary moments that they gather the strength to continue being kind in a world that does not always return the favor. Kindness is not weakness, it is a true form of strength, one that requires courage and perseverance. Those who choose kindness do not just endure the challenges of the world around them, they also carry their own pain while still offering support to others. They do not seek recognition but remain steadfast in their values, even when met with doubt or loneliness. Kindness is not about pleasing others, it is a conscious choice to love rather than remain indifferent, to understand rather than judge. If kindness ever makes you feel alone, remember that it is not emptiness, it is the space where you discover your inner strength. Every act of kindness is a seed, even if you cannot see it grow, it spreads and creates change. To be kind is to live with an open heart, to give without losing yourself. It is not the easiest path, but it is the most meaningful one, leaving behind a legacy of love, resilience, and hope. Kindness isn't weakness, it's strength, but only if you know where to draw the line. Keep giving, but don't forget to protect yourself. Anthony Hopkins said it best, you don't owe anyone anything. Live for yourself. The world needs more kindness, but first, you must give it to yourself. If this message resonated with you, let me know in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this.